I noticed 4 calculators flashing no response, and then I realized they were all talking. I've taught AP Physics for 15 years, and my final is always the same format. 20 multiple choice, then 3 long problems. I changed the questions, so old tests don't help. On final day, the room was quiet, except for pencils and calculator clicks. Everything looked fine until I noticed Sarah, one of my quietest kids. She kept looking down at her calculator, typing fast, then staring up at the ceiling like she was waiting for a reply. Then she'd sit still for about 30 seconds and do it again. One time is normal. This was like a timer. I watched longer and saw 3 other students doing the same loop. Every few minutes, they'd glance at each other with this tight, worried look, then go back to their screens. I started walking the aisles. When I passed Sarah, I leaned in just enough to catch her display. I expected a formula. Instead, I saw a line of text scrolling. No response. Try again. My stomach dropped. That wasn't a physics screen at all. It looked like a message screen. I kept moving, but now I was hunting. A minute later, I saw the same thing flash on another kid's calculator before he tilted it away. I didn't confront anyone yet, not in front of the class. I wanted proof, not a guess. So I pulled my phone out under my clipboard and snapped a photo of Sarah's screen. I took a lap around the room again, watching. One kid coughed and slid his test paper closer to his calculator, like he was hiding the screen from me. Another dropped his pencil on purpose, bent down, and I saw him peek at the student behind him for half a second. Jason noticed too. He lifted his eyes, gave a tiny nod, then started typing even faster. A soft beep came from Sarah's desk, and she exhaled like she'd been holding her breath. Then I watched for who was driving it. That's when I noticed Jason, my star student. He barely looked stressed, but his fingers were flying on his calculator like he was texting. The others would freeze, do the ceiling stare, then suddenly start bubbling answers right after Jason's bursts of typing. I waited until the last student turned in their test. Then I said, "Sarah, Jason, and you two, stay for a minute." 4 heads snapped up. You could feel the air change. They tried to look normal, but their hands stayed locked on their calculators. I closed the door, walked to my desk, and held out my hand. "Calculators, on my desk, now." Sarah's face went pale. One kid gave a fake laugh. Jason took a slow breath, then set his calculator down. The others followed, one by one. The second the last one hit my desk, I saw Jason's fingers twitch toward the buttons, like he was about to hit a delete switch. I said, "Hands flat, don't touch anything." He froze. I turned the calculators so the screens faced me. Sarah's still showed the message line. Jason's looked normal at first, but the cursor was sitting in a weird menu that didn't match anything from class. I slid my phone photo across the desk so they could see it. No response. Try again. All 4 of them went silent. Jason finally said, "We didn't steal answers. We made a system." I just stared at him. Sarah whispered, "Please don't send us to the principal." I didn't raise my voice. I just said, "Explain it." Jason talked fast, like he was trying to outrun trouble in that room. He said they'd spent months building a program for their calculators that let them send short messages during tests. They used symbols for A, B, C, and D, and quick codes for the long problems, like 2, energy, or 3, free body. The clever part was the cleanup. If a calculator sat untouched for 2 minutes, the chat wiped itself and flipped back to a normal screen. There was also a panic button combo that erased everything instantly. He started to demonstrate, but I cut him off. "Don't. I've seen enough." I was angry, but I was also stunned. 4 seniors had built their own private group chat on old calculators, and they did it well. I tapped the stack and said, "Here's what's happening." They leaned in like I was reading a verdict. "You're getting zeros on this final. That's done." Sarah's eyes filled. One kid opened his mouth to argue, but Jason stopped him. I kept going. "I'm not reporting you to administration today, but only if you do 2 things. First, you show me exactly how it works, step by step, and you hand over every part of it. Code, adapters, whatever you used. Second, you help our IT staff patch the weak spot you found, so nobody can do this again." Jason blinked. "You want us to help?" I nodded. "You were smart enough to build it. Now be smart enough to fix what you broke." The room went quiet. Then Sarah said, "Soft, if we do that, you won't write us up?" I said, "Do your part, and I'll handle the rest." Jason looked at the others, then unzipped his backpack and